Hey everyone, I'm Lana with Total Party Chill and welcome to our latest WizKids unboxing. Today we'll be showing off WizKids D&D's Icons of the Realm Boneyard Set Edition. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is a terrifyingly awesome release. We've got undead, we've got basically dead, we've got liches, aberrations, monstrosities, you name it, we got it.
Grab your rogue friend, a ranger, and some casters. Time to roll, have a good time, but don't burn down the tavern. Let's burn down the tavern. Time for total party chill. There's a critical hit, critical fail. Hold your head, see that dragon, we can slay it. And we'll level up all night till we get to that big bad evil guy.
So this is an ogre zombie. Pretty standard as far as zombies go, with the exception of this one happens to be an ogre. He bleeds some lovely purple blood, so that's new. Also, gingivitis is the #1 cause of all tooth decay. Just take note, ogres. Next, let's check out the Atropal, or as I like to say, Atropal. He's really gross. He's really gross. This horrific being was made from what once was a god, and that disgusting tentacly thingy coming out of his mouth and head is in fact a withered umbilical cord that is connected to negative planes. These bad boys also, look at that face though, ew, 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 ew. If you start your turn within 30 feet of these monstrosities, then you actually take necrotic damage every single time. And you cannot regain hit points. So not only do you lose health, but you cannot gain it. So that sucks. Also, when I'm saying monstrosity, I purely mean the visual sense. Technically, this is an undead titan. Still gross. Next up, Cibriexes. Not X's, Cibriexes. Unlike the Atropals, which are undead titans, these are demons. Cibriexes spend eons amassing all kinds of knowledge and information, hence the gigantic bulbous brain you see here. And generally they are used as advisors or oracles to demon lords who think like, hey, here's a plethora of knowledge I can use to my advantage, when in reality the Cibriex is most likely manipulating them for their own gain. And as wonderful as this creature may look, it in fact has a challenge rating of 18. So really good bad guy for campaign ending for all your DMs out there. Otherwise, as players, I'm sorry. Also, fun fact, that is bile coming out of the bottom of it, not jelly. Next up, the Mind Witness. These guys are what happen when you take a beholder and you put it into a brine pool of an elder brain. Once it becomes the Mind Witness, 4 of its eye stalks actually become these little tentacle guys, akin to a Mind Flayer. And while they do become significantly more powerful, they're not nearly as intelligent as a beholder. So they sacrifice some of them smarts for gross limbs, as you can see. I'm very excited about this next one. Adult Green Dracolich. You might be familiar with dragons. And as familiar as you are, some people may not know that they do in fact die at a certain point, despite the fact that they live a really long time. Some, before they die, decide that, you know what, I kind of want to keep on going. And so, due to some necromantic energies and rituals, they essentially allow themselves to become Dracoliches. This miniature is so cool. It's hard to see without seeing it in person. But you can see areas where his bones are showing through. One of his claws is just skeletal. The other one is still got its scales and skin. Clearly, having holes on their wings is not an issue because there they are. Spiny, gross tail, dig in the skull. This is a fun one. That being said, I would not want to come across one of these in battle. Next up, the Bone Whelk. Dun 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 dun. You might be thinking this looks like an ordinary snail. It is very much not an ordinary snail. The bone whelk, as it moves around, secretes this gross adhesive slime goo and attaches various bones, skulls, and other debris to its back in place of a shell, I guess. And while they don't do a whole lot other than that while they're alive, when they die, they emit a blood-curdling scream known as a death scream, and anyone within 10 feet of it will take 2d8 necrotic damage and begin to rot. Gross. Next up is the Skittering Horror. For those of you who are familiar with Magic the Gathering, this is a creature from Ravnica. It essentially strolls on up and has a maddening presence, such that if any creature is within 30 feet of it, it becomes paralyzed, assuming you fail the death save. And if anyone or anything is within 30 feet of it, it has to make a save. If it fails, you become paralyzed, and then this thing just skitters on up and has its way with you. With all them pincer feet things. There's a lot of them. Alrighty, next up is the Tyrannosaurus Rex Zombie Edition. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's the big difference between a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Tyrannosaurus Rex zombie? I'll tell you. These guys can, in fact, vomit up another zombie. Technically speaking, it's a medium-sized zombie. Now, it also has an ability that after it is dead, it will explode into 1d4 amount of zombies. So it comes with a lot of gift with purchases. This miniature is really similar to the Dracolich, actually, where it's so cool because half of it is still fleshy covered, and half of it you can see the bones coming out. Part of it is missing, scales, all that. So it's also a lesson in anatomy, whilst being a terrifying thing to fight. Alrighty, next up is the Juvenile Kraken. Now, regular Krakens, obviously, are incredibly terrifying, not fun things to fight. So you might be thinking, oh, Juvenile Kraken, who cares? No big deal, right? Wrong! It is a challenge rating of 14, so still packs a pretty big punch. In fact, multiple because of all of its limbs. One of its abilities is that it can actually pick you up and fling you 40 feet in any direction it so chooses. And despite the way the miniature looks, it does in fact have a mouth in which it can swallow you, assuming you're small or medium-sized creature. But still, for an infantile kraken, that's pretty terrifying. And like most cephalopods, it still has the ability to create an ink cloud when threatened. Also, harmless other little trait like the ink cloud, it can call down a lightning strike. For fun. Just 'cause. So now, after this juvenile kraken, we have the bone naga. You might be familiar with regular naga and the Yanti, which are both variations of a serpentine creature. Both believe they are sort of the superior version of however a snake could manifest itself. And sometimes what the Yanti will do if they come across a naga is that they'll cast some evil magic on it, rip its mind and consciousness from it, and turn it into a bone naga, which essentially is now a servant of theirs, does their bidding. They only retain a few of the spells that they knew in previous life, I guess, and unfortunately end up looking like this little guy. So, feels a little naked without all his scales on. Keeping with the theme of skeletal beings, up next we have the Hill Giant Skeleton. These guys are, standard evil-ish skeleton. They have a challenge rating of 7. They do have magical resistances, though, so anytime they have to make a saving throw for a magical effect, they get advantage. Apparently they also love to play baseball. I don't know. I just made that up. So, Odiugs. Ugh. They're tripods, and these guys live in generally very dark places. They really only tolerate bright light if there is a guarantee that there is all kinds of garbage, filth, corpses, just yuckiness is their jam. So these guys are found pretty much wherever it's dark and wherever there's gross stuff. They're more of an ambush type predator. They really aren't going to go seeking out their prey. They basically will lie in wait in mounds of filth with one of their little eye stalks sort of as a periscope. And when it senses something nearby, it just whoosh, grabs you. With one tentacle, will restrain you, and with the other, just bop you a bunch of times. They're typically found in the Underdark, and most people use them as literal garbage disposals. Next up is the Elder Oblix. Now, these are what you would call an amorphous blob of a creature. They're essentially made up of this oozing, gooey thing you see here, and similar to that of an octopus, it can move through essentially any space that is at least an inch big. What they tend to do is they will eat the memories of a creature. It doesn't have to kill it, it can still eat its memories, and will create a simulacrum, which you see in front of him here. It can create a fake version, essentially, of the creature's memories it has eaten. And the only way you will be able to tell that this simulacrum is not in fact said person is there'll be a small thin strand of ooze connecting it to the bigger ooze, and that's really the only giveaway that this is an Elder Oblix. The only way that you can sever that connection is putting the simulacrum in a space where it can't fit through it. So a fully sealed area, if you will. They also hate fire. So there's that. Nope, don't like it. I hate it. I hate it. All right, let's get this thing out of here. Rot trolls. Trolls, when injured, they have an ability to regenerate and heal themselves. Rot trolls is essentially what you get when a troll has tried to regenerate too many times. It's gone bad. It's spoiled. It's hit its expiration date. It's just continuously rotting and amassing more and more and more necromantic energy. And in fact, even just being in the vicinity of one damages you. You will take damage. And pieces of them will fall off, and then it'll just sort of clump back on, and it's gross. Speaking of things getting corrupted and or rotting, we have the Death Knight. Now, when a paladin falls from grace, if you will, and becomes corrupted, you get a Death Knight. These guys are essentially a skeletal form clad in some nasty looking armor. He's got a lovely hand axe as well as a double-sided axe on his back here. All around, not so great stuff. Just not a great person thing to run into, Try to keep the paladins from going bad. Now we've covered the green Dracolich. Here's our standard lich. Are you familiar with Vlaukith, Exithanter, Acerak? This is the lich miniature for you. Now, like the Dracolich, these were once wizards, or not undead beings, who wanted to prolong their life and power. So they essentially put their soul or life force, whatever you want to call it, in a phylactery and have to continually feed it souls in order to stay this. They're extremely evil, all about getting more power, more domination at whatever cost. And you know what? They're really lonely. Then again, who isn't? I could see how, wanting to amass all kinds of power and world domination might alienate you from people. What are you gonna do? Green Dracolich? How about blue Dracolich? This miniature is so freaking cool. It's spewing all kinds of nastiness from its mouth. You get this awesome pose of these undead, pretty beat up wings if I'm being honest. But the miniature is so cool. You get to see more of the fleshy bits, the skeletal bits, the muscly bits, all that good stuff. Not to mention the blue color really brings out its eyes, Check out the frickin' blue lightning. I like how it's lightning, but to keep his outfit cohesive, they're like, well, we'll make it blue. Blue lightning, obviously. Now what's really cool about these miniatures is they all feature a transparent base, so that way you can show off whatever fancy terrain you might have on the table. which is also going to become the new standard across the board for all miniatures. These miniatures were also designed with the intention of being able to fit into any module, doesn't go specifically to one or another, so you can work them pretty seamlessly into any adventure you might have. Now there's also a Boneyard Orc Skeleton promo box that will only be available via your friendly local game store. Click the link below to check out where yours is and find out how you might get your hands on one of these. Now the second exclusive box set that you can get is the Boneyard Kobold set, which you can get if you head on over to dndmini.com and pre-order any of the Boneyard sets. All the miniatures that we just unboxed will be available at your friendly local game store starting in March of 2021. And a huge thank you to WizKids for giving us the opportunity to show off these amazing miniatures. Once again, I'm Lana with Total Party Chill. We'll see you Sundays.
Grab your rogue friend, a ranger, and some casters. Time to roll, have a good time, but don't burn down the tavern. Let's burn down the tavern. Time for total party chill. There's a critical hit, critical fail. Hold your head, see that dragon, we can slay it.